Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our psychology unit for the month of September. Be careful. We're going to pretend that we are shrinks in today's program. A psychologist, that's a shrink. They kind of check out your mind and see what you're thinking, and they're trying to help you with life and things like that. But today we're talking about something called the Diderot effect. That sounds like a French name there. And so this is some kind of phenomenon or something that happens in the world of psychology.
Yeah, it's something that I recognized as I read it. I had never heard that it had a name given to it. It's called the Diderot effect, as Tom said. But I definitely can relate to the contents of this particular article. So we're going to find out what the Diderot effect is and if it affects or impacts you. But first, we're going to listen to our article read one time. Caught in a spending spiral? Blame the Diderot effect. Have you ever bought a new smartphone and suddenly found yourself dissatisfied with your perfectly fine headphones? Before long, you've purchased premium wireless earbuds, a protective case, and a fast-charging station. What begins as a single acquisition snowballs into a shopping spree. This is the Diderot effect in action. Named after the 18th century French philosopher Denis Diderot, the Diderot effect originates from an essay he wrote. In it, he recounted receiving a luxurious robe as a gift. As lovely as it was, the robe clashed with the rest of his humble belongings. One by one, he replaced his possessions to match the robe's elegance and ultimately fell into debt. Psychologically, the effect reflects our desire for consistency and harmony in our environment. This explains why we are driven to match new items with our existing ones, often leading to unintended expenditures. Modern marketing strategies cleverly exploit the Diderot effect. Retailers employ tactics such as bundled product offerings and carefully designed showroom environments. IKEA, for example, creates coordinated spaces that subtly encourage comprehensive purchasing. Consumers are prompted to buy not only the desired item, but also related products to maintain visual unity. To break free from this consumption spiral, one must first distinguish between genuine needs and manufactured desires. Should you find yourself tempted by an attractive sale, consider the potential future purchases it might trigger. Is that discounted designer coat truly a bargain if it compels you to buy accessories to match? Furthermore, focus on practicality over status. Could a second-hand alternative serve the same functional purpose? A pre-owned bicycle, for instance, offers the same benefits as its brand-new counterpart without the high cost. By understanding the Diderot effect, we can make more mindful consumption choices and avoid the psychological trap that leaves us with overflowing closets and empty wallets.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about the contents of today's lesson. We're asking if you are caught in a spending spiral. Okay, a spiral is like a shape. It's like a spring that is wider at the top and narrower at the bottom. Sometimes if a plane has been shot down, it will spiral toward the ground because it's been shot, and then it will crash on the ground. And so a spending spiral just means something gets started and then you just can't stop. You're spinning in circles. You just spend more and more money and you just don't stop.
Yeah, and it's like you can't pull yourself out of that spiral. As Tom said, if a plane crashes or a helicopter, we often said, it spiraled downwards and then it crashed into the mountain. If someone's spiraling downwards, it just means someone's in a bad situation that they can't pull themselves out of, and they probably need some help. Maybe someone's really depressed, or maybe someone's spending way too much time playing video games and can't seem to get control of their time and themselves. They're spiraling downwards. They're doing poorly in school. They don't want to be with their friends. They're staying in their room all the time. That's a bad sign. So, yeah, if you're caught in a spending spiral, This could be bad for your budget, guys. If you're spending too much money, you're probably wasting some money. So let's take a look at this Diderot effect. If you blame something, you're actually saying, hey, it's your fault, or you're putting responsibility for something on a particular area. Maybe it's a person you're blaming. Maybe it's a situation you're blaming. Maybe it's your own actions you're blaming, but you're putting responsibility on something. So maybe we can blame the Diderot effect for causing someone to spend way too much money and go way over budget and put themselves into a bad situation.
To put themselves in debt. And that's what happened to Diderot, as we're going to find out. But we're going to begin our lesson by asking a question. Have you ever bought a new smartphone and suddenly found yourself dissatisfied with your perfectly fine headphones? So have you ever is a common way to ask somebody if they have done something before. Have you ever been to Japan before? Have you ever tried sukiyaki or something like that? But in this case, have you ever bought a new smartphone and then you found yourself dissatisfied with your perfectly fine headphones? Okay, I have not. I buy new smartphones every 2 or 3 years or so when they wear out, when they break or whatever. But I still use the old-fashioned earbuds, with the wires and things like that. I just don't see the attraction. What are those things called? The eye earphones or something like that? There's a term for them. They're wireless and they stick in your ear. I think they emit radiation or something, and we're all going to get brain cancer if we use them too much, so I don't use them. I just like the cheap ones that I got at Walgreens in the USA.
Earbuds, Tom, can be both. They can either be Wi-Fi or they can be connected with wires.
Okay.
So you're lucky if your phone still has a jack. That's a little hole in your phone.
True.
That you can put your headphones into, or your earbuds. Earbuds, again, can be wireless or connected to wires. Earbuds that are popular these days are made by companies. I won't mention the company's name. And they're great, but they cause a lot of radiation, as you connect to the Wi-Fi. My current phone has no phone jack, no headphone jack. So I'm forced to wear earbuds. So it's kind of frustrating that way. Headphones, guys, are the ones that you wear over your ears, but they can also be wireless. I still have my headphones for planes that have wires on them, and I'm never getting rid of them because those are actually more healthy for you. Check into the amount of radiation that you're putting into your body by using wireless earbuds or wireless headphones, guys. Just a little FYI for your information there. I listened to this a while ago and I thought, oh my goodness, it's much more radiation than even your microwave.
Oh no.
So yeah, be careful with those guys. Yeah, it's convenient. They get us with convenience. Sometimes we hurt ourselves. With convenience, we eat prepackaged food or we eat food that's probably not very healthy because it's convenient. But convenience sometimes will kill you, so be careful with that. But yeah, that's the difference between headphones. Headphones, again, go over your ears, and earbuds go inside your ears.
It's a good point that phones no longer have that port for wired headphones.
They wanted to force us into buying earbuds.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Of course, they don't want you to buy or don't want you to use your perfectly fine headphones. They want you to buy those wireless ones. You have no choice. So yeah, the next time I buy a smartphone, I may have to look really hard. Hey, do you have a smartphone that has the headphone port? Ha ha ha! Boy, are you stupid. We've stopped selling those like 5 years ago. You can't get those anymore.
I think there are going to be some companies that come out with headphone jacks again or earbud jacks.
I hope so. I'm pretty satisfied using my Samsung with the earphone port there. That's pretty satisfying.
Nice.
And you don't have to charge those things. But in any case, yes, you just got yourself a new smartphone, and then you thought, I've got this new smartphone, but these headphones or these earbuds just don't cut it. They're just not good. I don't want them anymore. I want to get the latest fashion model that everybody else has. And before long, you've purchased premium wireless earbuds, a protective case, and a fast charging station. Okay, these are some accessories that come with phones. Well, they may come with phones. You probably have to buy them separately. Yes, you get these premium wireless earbuds. Of course, they're going to cost you a pretty penny. They're not going to be cheap. And then, of course, you're going to buy that protective case. A lot of times the case that you give you is just kind of boring. It's just kind of clear plastic, so people change it for something fancy. And then, of course, the charger that they give you may not work very fast, so you might want to get a new one that's fast charging or a power bank or whatever. You're just going to buy all sorts of accessories.
I admit to buying the protective case. It's very boring looking. It's black, but it has saved my phone so many times when I dropped it. So it hasn't cracked my screen. If you crack the screen of your phone, it costs like 8,000 NT dollars to replace, so be careful. I was shocked. The first time I broke my screen, it was my earlier phone. I've had this phone for about 3 years. It's awesome, except it does not have a headphones jack.
Oh, no.
I was so mad when I figured that out, but I'd already bought my phone. Anyway, be careful with those extra accessories. We call those accessories. You don't necessarily have to have them. They're nice to have. What begins as a single acquisition, an acquisition is when you acquire something, just means you get or gain something. Here you're buying it. When one single purchase snowballs into a shopping spree. If something snowballs, this is a great verb. It just means it grows in size over time or in importance. It could be an issue that if you don't take care of it right away, it just gets more urgent or worse. But if you look at a snow, we don't have much snow in Taiwan, but if you live in a place that has snow, if you build a snowball or if it goes downhill, it gathers snow on its way down and it gets bigger and bigger in size. So it's really a great verb. It's visual. And a shopping spree is just when you go out and you just buy and buy and buy, which I've done before. This is the Diderot effect in action, meaning, oh, I bought my phone. Oh, I need other things to go along with it.
Exactly. So you just spend more and more money and you go on a shopping spree. You just buy all sorts of stuff all at once. You probably make your wife or your husband really angry when they get the credit card bill the next month. Why are you spending so much money on all these phone accessories? It's a perfectly good phone without those things. Well, what is this when we buy things like that, when we shamelessly buy all those things that we don't really need? This is the Diderot effect in action. Okay, we're going to talk about what the Diderot effect is in the next paragraph.
So it was named after the 18th century French philosopher Denis Diderot. Denis, they don't pronounce the S in France. So Denis Diderot, and they often don't even say de in the middle. Diderot. So yeah, it came from a French guy. 18th century, of course, is in the 1700s. And the Diderot effect, that's the English pronunciation, Diderot, it originates or comes from an essay he wrote. Back then, people were writing papers. They weren't on their phones all the time, surfing or looking at what was going on Facebook or IG. He actually wrote an essay about this. It was kind of a story from his own life.
Right. To originate means to come from, as you said. For example, I could say paper originates from China. And, of course, there are lots of things that come from different places, like Buddhism originated. You could use past tense as well. Buddhism originated in India and then spread to other nations in Asia here. But this Diderot effect came from an essay. It originates from an essay that he wrote. And in this essay, in this article, I suppose, he recounted receiving a luxurious robe as a gift. So if you recount something, you just remember something and then you tell somebody about what you remember. So he recounted this. He just talked about something that happened in the past, and he did receive a robe as a gift. That's a piece of clothing that you wear casually inside your home, whether you're just relaxing or maybe you just took a shower. We have a bathrobe, for example, that you can wear after you take a shower or after you take a bath. And yes, he received this robe as a gift, but it was luxurious. We could say it was a luxury robe. It was expensive. The thread is made out of gold or whatever. The buttons are made out of platinum. Yes, indeed, it's a luxury robe.
He must have had a rich friend. That's all I can say. So as lovely as this robe was to him, oh no, the robe clashed with the rest of his humble belongings. To clash here means it doesn't match. So if your clothes clash, you're wearing colors that don't go together or don't look good together, a mismatch of colors. A lot of colors we're seeing today, when I was growing up or Tom was growing up, orange and red were not put together, or red and pink were weird if you put them together. Nowadays, I think people wear lots of different colors that long ago didn't seem to go together. They clashed. So his expensive robe looked really bad with the rest of his very inexpensive belongings. Belongings are the things that belong to you, that you own. And if it says humble, it just means really not rich, not luxurious. They weren't expensive.
Yeah, they're all things he got at the night market, for example, and they just don't match that new luxurious robe, so he's got to buy some new things, which we'll talk about in a second when our lesson continues. Let's take a break now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天带大家看一篇有关于 Diderot effect， 所谓的狄德罗效应。它是一个购物陷阱，一种我们的心理状态哦。可是我们的文章设计成篇章结构。那这个篇章结构呢，从今年的这个学测开始其实应该是说从去年就直接呢来考5选4，所以5选4其实难度增加很多，有一个选项会几乎都放不进去。所以我们做这个篇章结构要特别注意一下，上下文它的内容都会有相关。所以我们通常会先瞄一下选项，大概在讲些什么东西，然后我们等一下读文章读到那一题的时候头脑大概会预测出文章应该接下来会可能是说明解释啦，可能有转折啦，有可能是举例子啦，那这时候就比较好找答案。像例如我们看到 A 选项当中，甚至是更糟的是媒体居然还放大了这种效应，因为大家会去比较生活嘛。好，那这个 A 的 even worse 就这个隐含着呢，在前文当中我们会有提到什么东西让 Diderot effect， 什么样的事情让 Diderot effect 变得很糟糕的一个情况。好，那 B 选项看到这个 IKEA 或者是 IKEA for example 是关键哦。在 B 选项的前面一定提了一个什么样的现象，比如说某一种行销手法，例如 IKEA 它就创造出那种协调一致的这种空间让大家可以全面的购买。好，我们在这边看到一个限定用法关系子句哦。我们看到先行词是 coordinated spaces， 就是一种协调一致的空间，带得到句尾是限定用法关系子句。那它就是很微妙的呢，就是会让我们大家好想要这个也买那个也买，干脆把整个房间的这个设计都买回去。再来 C 的选项就问了一个问题，那个打折的这个名牌外套真的是一个 bargain， 真的是很划算吗？ If 如果后面的 compel someone to do something， 强迫某人做某件事，如果它会迫使你还必须也要买一些 accessories，这个配件 to match 才能够相配，那它真的是一个 bargain 吗？你会有省到钱吗？好， D 的选项我们看到关键有一个 snowball， 哇，原来只是一个单一的一个购买，后来整个呢什么都买啦，像滚雪球一样，这就是所谓的 Diderot effect in action， 这就是我们所谓行动当中的 Diderot effect。 感觉上 D 选项好像会出现在前面就是说明 Diderot effect是什么样的状况，什么样的一个事情，或什么样心理效应的一种说明解释。再来最后 E 选项呢，他就说这种心理学来说其实这就反映出我们的 desire， 我们心中通常都会觉得环境当中的一些人事或者是一些环境的搭配都要 consistency， 都有一致性harmony很和谐。所以其实这就是我们每个人心中本来就是会有一种现象跟想法。好，接着我们就要赶快看文章咯。文章的第一段就告诉我们说，你是不是曾经有买什么手机然后耳机不满意，然后开始就买无线耳机，保护壳也要买啦，充电座要换这个快速的后来又买了一大堆东西。这个不就是我们刚刚谈到的一个 snowball， 像滚雪球一样的越买越多吗？所以在第一段的最后面第三句这个第一题的地方，答案应该是选 D 比较通顺的。好，那第二段呢一定会来谈一谈这个 Diderot它其实这什么样的一个起源 原来它来自于18世纪啊，有一个法国哲学家啊，他就是写了一篇文章啊，就提到了这样子的一个概念。那在这个文章当中呢，他就说了，他收到了一个很奢华的长袍作为礼物，但是虽然这个长袍很美丽呢，但是他却觉得他身边其他的那种很简朴的东西啊 humble belongings 就觉得跟他都不搭配。可我们这句话很重要哦，这句话也就是第二段的第3句，特别有一个句型，请把句首的 as 把它抓出来。句首的第一个 as 呢，请把它括号，常常会省略不写。后面的这个 as 呢，请给它等于一个 although 虽然。换句话说啊，这个 as 放句首的时候，第一个 as 省略，它其实是虽然非常的漂亮 although it was, the robe was lovely 逗点，虽然很漂亮，却跟其他的东西格格不入呢。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, welcome back. Let's continue talking about the Diderot effect. Now, we were trying to tell you exactly what this effect is. It's when you start buying things after you buy one thing and you need to have things that go with it. And this came from Denis Diderot from France. And he wrote an essay and he described getting a luxurious robe from a friend as a gift. And as lovely as it was, the robe clashed with the rest of his humble belongings. They just did not match, so he had to do something about that. And one by one, he replaced his possessions or he replaced his belongings to match the robe's elegance and ultimately fell into debt. So he had some pretty crude and cheap bed sheets, for example, or other items of clothing or shoes or hats or whatever. And he thought, those things just don't match that luxurious robe, so I need to replace them. But of course, those things cost a lot of money. And he went into debt. He owed a lot of money.
Yeah, here we're using a more formal way of saying that you owe money. If you fall into debt, we usually just say, yeah, I'm going into debt or I went into debt. If you're in debt, it means you owe somebody money. Usually these days it's you owe the credit card company money. But maybe you borrowed money from a friend and you can't pay it back. You're in his debt. Well, psychologically or in our own minds, the effect shows or reflects our desire for consistency and harmony in our environment. We actually want things to go together. We want things to match. We don't want things to clash. And so that is kind of pulling at us. It's a desire that we have, but it comes from our minds. It's kind of natural, though. This explains why we're driven or pushed or compelled to match new items with our existing ones, often leading to unintended expenditures. So you're doing something that you didn't mean to, you didn't plan on it, but it happened. An expenditure, first of all, guys, it can be plural or singular, both. And we use both. So let me give you an example. An expenditure is just the amount of money you spend on something. You could say, in a singular example, the government made a large expenditure on healthcare. Or the plural example, you could say, my company reviewed its expenditures for the year and found that it went over budget. So expenditures, again, are the money. It's the money you spend on something.
Right. So if you buy a fancy camera, for example, you'll think, well, I need to have a couple of wide-angle lenses. I need a portrait lens. I need a neutral density filter. I need a great tripod. I need all these things, a great flash unit, it's stuff like that. So, Of course, the spending just spirals out of control. And modern marketing strategies cleverly exploit the Diderot effect. Yeah, if you're trying to sell products, of course, you're going to figure out how to use this to your advantage. If you use something to your advantage, or if you use someone to your advantage, you are exploiting that person. You're using them for personal gain.
Uh-oh, that's not good. But marketing companies are always going to try to come up with clever ideas to get us to buy their thing, whatever they're selling. It could be a service or a product that they make. They're trying to exploit or take advantage of the Diderot effect. So we've got retailers who are using, or we could use this verb employing, retailers employing tactics or methods such as bundled product offerings and carefully designed showroom environments. A retailer is just somebody who's out there in the world selling something. It could be someone who owns a store and he's selling clothes, or it could be a company that is out there producing a service that people want. But when you talk about a retailer, it's usually someone who sells a particular product in a store.
Right, so these are bundled product offerings. A bundle just means the product with other accessories sold at the same time. And then, of course, if you go look at something in a store, you're probably going into the showroom. This most often happens when you're shopping for a new car, like you're going down to the local Toyota dealer. Well, there'll be a bunch of cars inside their showroom that you can check out and get inside and stuff like that. So IKEA, for example, or IKEA, as some people say, creates coordinated spaces that subtly encourage comprehensive purchasing. So if you go to IKEA, for example, they do have those showrooms. And if you want to buy a bed or something, well, you'll think, well, I could buy that desk that goes with it, the lamps and things like that, the pictures on the walls and stuff like that. So they're trying to encourage you to buy all those things as a bundled offering. I'm not sure if they bundle those things together for a special deal or something, but yeah, if you buy one, they want you to buy more that goes with it.
Yeah, sometimes you get a nice price if they bundle things together. I wanted to mention tactics. I said it was a method. It could be a plan. It could be a strategy to accomplish something. Maybe your coach of your baseball team has a new tactic to beat your biggest rival. So these are just tactics or methods that they use to get you to buy more products. Now, moving on to the next paragraph, it says to break free from this consumption spiral. Consumption just means either buying something or using something. It could be eating something too. To consume food is to eat it. To get out of this spiral that is taking you downward and maybe putting you into debt, you need to first distinguish, to tell the difference between a genuine need, I really do need this in my life, and manufactured desires. If you manufacture a desire, you create it. It's not natural. So that's what they're trying to do, manufacture desires within us to have everything we can find.
And should you find yourself tempted by an attractive sale, consider the potential future purchases it might trigger. To trigger means to cause something to happen. So you might think, well, this item is on sale, but hey, if I get that item, I might have to buy more things to go with it. So you need to realize you're doing that and say, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fall for that trick.
Yeah, have you ever seen a really pretty dress out there, ladies, and you think, oh, I love this, and it's a color I've never had before. And then you think, oh, but I need new shoes, and I need a necklace and earrings to go with it. So it just gets you buying more and more. Beware of the sales out there. They usually get you buying more than you planned on buying because here's this word compel. It drives you, it forces you to buy accessories that you hadn't planned on. Furthermore, in addition, focus on practicality over status. Practicality just means you're thinking inside your head, how useful is this or how realistic is it that I buy all these things? Do I really need them? That's something that you need to think about. Status is how you appear to other people. So think about that as well. That's not important in the long run.
And another question you could ask yourself, could a second-hand alternative serve the same functional purpose? Second-hand here means used, so would that be practical as well? A pre-owned bicycle, for instance, offers the same benefits as its brand new counterpart without the high cost. So if you want to buy an S-Works bicycle, for example, and you want to buy a new one, well, the used one is, it's just as good. Maybe it has a little wear and tear, but still you might save some money on that and still get some great exercise without having to spend, $50,000, $60,000 NT dollars on a new bike. Try to save some money and not be so flashy.
What's a counterpart? A counterpart is a person or a thing that's similar to another in a different place or group. So, yeah, a brand new counterpart, a brand new bicycle. Maybe it's the same company, but it's secondhand. It's used, so you can get a better price. So by understanding this Diderot effect and how it works on your mind, we can make better, more mindful consumption choices. If you're mindful It means you're being very careful or aware of what your mind is doing as you do something, some sort of action that you're taking. You can avoid that psychological trap that leaves you with overflowing closets and empty wallets. Yeah, I have too many clothes at home. I'll be the first to admit that. If something's overflowing, it's so full, it's spilling out. You have too much of something. So be aware of this and try to stay out of debt. Be practical and be aware of what you're buying.
That, of course, introduces another problem, which is hoarding if you have too much stuff, but that's a subject for another day. That brings us to the end of our lesson for today. We need to hear now from our Chinese teacher.
接着他就一件一件换自己的物品啊，因为格格不入嘛。好，所以从心理层面来看呢，其实这就是因为我们就本身希望 consistency 跟 harmony。好，所以你有没有发现到读到这个第二题这个地方的时候啊，因为第四句就是它的前一句有一个 match 要相配，有没有？再加上后面呢，也就是第二段的第六句，在第二题后面这一句话 this 这哪个东西啊？就是我们的所谓第二题的这个答案啊，第二题一的这个答案 this 就是所谓的心理效应的这个，就解释我们为什么会一直不断的买东西呢，才能够跟其他东西相配。这本来就是我们的一种 psychology 的现象。好，那现代的行销策略呢，就会好好的利用一下这个 Diderot effect 啦。比如说我们刚刚谈到的 IKEA 是不是就是这么做呢？所以在来到了第三段，这第三句的第三题，我们直接可以把 B 就放进去了。而且 B 这个答案还会跟上下文相互呼应哦，因为第三段的第一句就讲到了这个 modern marketing strategy 行销的策略，第二句 retailers 零售商，中间有 bundled product offerings 有一种捆绑的销售，全部东西都摆在一起，哇，原来要这样搭配才漂亮耶。接着后面在第三题后面的 consumers 消费者啊 not only 不仅会买这个 but also related product 相关的一些东西都要买起来了，这不就是 IKEA 在做的事吗？所以第三题啊，答案选 B。 好，接着呢我们第四题啊选 C 是因为上下文通顺，但是我们要特别讲一下，在后面呢第四题这一段呢，也就是第四段的第二句 Should you find yourself， 注意哦，这边不是问句哦，它是 if 省略的假设语气倒装，它的意思是万一 if you should find， 万一你发现自己很想要买一个特价品的时候，我们把 if 省略，把助动词的 should 放句首，所以 should you find yourself 不是问句哦，它是万一你发现有一个这个 attractive sale， 它就呼应了我们刚刚提到 C 选项。那这个外套它真的是一个 bargain 吗？如果你还要买很多其他东西的话。希望我们今天的这个文章顺便也增进大家篇章结构解题的技巧。我是安娜，我们下次见。
That brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you do not suffer from the Diderot effect. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.